Hello and welcome to video lecture in political science. Today we are going to discuss chapter 1 titled as Cold War from your class 12th textbook Contemporary World Politics. As you know, for understanding we have divided this chapter into 6 parts. So far in the previous parts we have discussed about the end of Second World War, Cuban Missile Crisis, Cold War and logic of deterrence. We have also discussed about that how the world was divided into Eastern and Western bloc on the basis of ideologies of communism and capitalism. We have discussed about Vietnam War and Soviet intervention of Afghanistan. We've also discussed about some treaties and agreements that were signed between the two rival blocs and other nuclear powers to contain the race of arms and some arms control treaties. Today, in this part, we'll discuss about emergence of NAM, that is non-aligned movement. We'll discuss about the role of NAM, its goal, its success and failure at the global stage. Now, as you know that although the Cold War divided the world into two rival power blocs, some states did not formally join the Western or the Eastern alliance, or they did not align with any major power bloc. These group of countries formed NAM, that is non-aligned movement. For that matter, let's understand what is align. Alignment means to stand by somebody or take somebody's side or support. Although alignment may be used in number of disciplines in different fashion or manners. But in this case, this is to stand by somebody. NAM or non-aligned movement consisted mainly of newly independent countries of Asia, Africa and Latin America. And all these newly independent countries, those who decided not to join either of the alliance, the Western or the Eastern alliance. Now let us discuss briefly the history of NAM. How did NAM came into existence? The non-aligned movement was created and founded during the collapse of the colonial system around the end of Second World War. This was the time when a large number of countries in Asia, Africa, Latin America and other regions of the world gained their independence, like India during 1947. It was also the period when the Cold War started and subsequently reached its peak, that is after the Second World War, when the world was divided into two rival blocs. Now, although there were meetings happening between newly independent countries, but according to historians and scholars, the NAM started from the Asian African Conference that was held in Bandung on 18th of April in 1955. Now in Bandung, heads or leaders of 29 states or nations belonging to the first post-colonial generation of leaders from these continents, Africa and Asia, came together. Coming together with the aim of identifying and assessing world issues at this point of time and the role these new nations can play in the global politics. Now in this conference in 1955, 29 nation heads met one another. These countries represented more than half of the world's population. This conference was hosted by Prime Minister Sukarno in Bandung, Indonesia. The aim of this conference was to promote economic and cultural cooperation so that they means the newly independent countries, can attempt to stay out of the Cold War, and their aim was to oppose colonialism. Bandung Declaration condemned colonialism in all its manifestation, social, ideological, economic or territorial. Now, the conference also called for equitable redistribution of resources for the benefit of these poor states, which had recently gained independence and were not economically sound enough. In 1960s, a decisive boost was given to the creation of the NAM movement or the creation of non-aligned movement. Now, this happened during the 15th ordinary session of the UN General Assembly, United Nations General Assembly. In this meeting, 17 new African and Asian countries joined, or they were admitted. In this process, a key role, an important or significant role was played by the head of states and government, those who were taking up the new or forming the new governments in these countries. At the invitation of Josip Broz Tito, the members of the Bandung Conference were invited to Belgrade, Yugoslavia, in 1961 for a summit, where the non-aligned movement was officially established. Throughout history, one of the main goals of the movement of non-aligned countries has been to preserve world peace and security, because it emerged in the circumstances when Cold War had created too much of tension and strain in the world. And great efforts were made by some leaders, particularly leaders of 5 nations. These are India, Indonesia, Yugoslavia, Egypt and Ghana. And the leaders of these 5 nations, or these 5 nations together, are known as the founding fathers of NAM. These people are, let us know more about these leaders. The first Prime Minister of India, Shri Jawaharlal Nehru. Jawaharlal Nehru made efforts for Asian unity, decolonization, nuclear disarmament. And Nehru also advocated for the peaceful coexistence and for securing world peace. The next important leader of the founding 5 of NAM is Kwame Nkrumah. He was the first Prime Minister of Ghana and he ruled from 1952 to 1966. He led the freedom movement in Ghana and he advocated the cause of socialism and African unity. Kwame opposed neo-colonialism along with colonialism and he was removed in a military coup. The next leader is Josip Broz Tito and he was president of Yugoslavia from 1945 to 1980. Tito had fought against the Germans in Second World War. Tito was a popular public figure both in Yugoslavia and over other nations all over the world. Tito's internal policies successfully maintained the peaceful coexistence of the nations of Yugoslav Federation. The fourth one in the founding 5 countries is Gamal Abdel Nasser, who ruled Egypt from 1952 to 1970. Abdel Nasser espoused the cause of Arab nationalism, socialism and anti-imperialism. He nationalized the Suez Canal as well. And the last in the 5 founding fathers is President of Indonesia, Sukarno. Sukarno led the freedom struggle in Indonesia and he espoused the cause of socialism and anti-imperialism. He was in fact the first one to organize Bandung Conference, but later on he was thrown out in a military coup. As you can see in this map, the dots represent the location of 5 leading countries which were among the founding fathers of NAM. 2 are from Asia, 2 are from Africa and 1 is from the European nations. Did you notice something common among the biography, the brief biography of all these 5 leaders which are founding fathers of NAM? What was that? There runs a common thread or common element among all. There are 2 important things that emerge. One is that all of them espouse the cause of socialism. And the second is all of them were against imperialism. So there was a movement or a kind of inclination towards something which is going to help the cause of socialism. Now 6 years after Bandung, the movement of non-aligned countries was established. The first summit of the Conference of NAM was held in Belgrade in September 1961. This conference in 1961 in Belgrade was attended by 25 countries. These countries are Afghanistan, Algeria, Yemen, Myanmar, Cambodia, Sri Lanka, Congo, Cuba, Cyprus, Egypt, Ethiopia, Ghana, Guinea, India, Indonesia, Iraq, Lebanon, Mali, Morocco, Nepal, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, Sudan, Syria, Tunisia, Yugoslavia. And you can see on this map, we can identify all these 25 countries. Now one thing which is very interesting to see, that most of these countries belong to the Southern Asian region and the northeast part of Africa or the western part of Africa. There are not many countries which are from the southern part of Africa. So you can see that regionally these countries are all clustered together. And there is only one Latin American country and another one is Cuba. Interestingly, you will see the role of Cuba later on. Now from the first summit in Belgrade, 3 major focal issues emerged. What were these 3 issues? The first one was that in relation to the superpowers, the NAM seeks to find a third way. What is the third way? You neither believe or espouse socialism or communism directly, nor you advocate capitalism in its crude form, and this is called as third way. The second important focal issue was protest against the colonial rule in Africa and Asia. Whichever countries were still struggling for independence, these people were standing by them. And the third focus was the establishment of new economic order and ensure how to equitably distribute resources around the world. While discussing history of NAM, it is important to discuss what factors led to the formation of NAM. One can identify three important factors that led to its formation or establishment. The first factor was that there was an agreement of cooperation between the founding members. That was in order to liberate themselves from underdevelopment and help each other at various stages of development, because these were newly independent countries and they had different set of resources, expertise or capital. So they decided that they could cooperate with each other to make maximum use of available resources and capabilities to come out of poverty. The second reason was that the newly independent countries were worried that by aligning with a superpower, they might once again lose their freedom of independent decision making, as the tension of the Cold War were becoming deeper and wider every day. And the third reason was that as more and more African and Asian countries gained independence, the movement got support from a large number of countries. The first summit of NAM was attended by 25 members only, and over the years the membership grew and expanded very well. And now by 2012 the movement has 120 members and 17 observer states. By being members of NAM, the newly independent countries stayed clearly out of the dominant Cold War alliance or tension. Over a period of time, the popularity of NAM grew, and the countries with different forms of political organization, economic organization and interest started to join it. But this also had a negative impact on the composition of NAM. It made the movement quite diverse and complex and not easy to manage. In fact, it became difficult to identify and clearly define what did NAM stand for. Interestingly, scholars say it was easier to define NAM in terms of what it was not rather than what it was. You must also remember one important thing, that the policy of not aligning with any of the power bloc did not mean isolationism or neutrality. Now, what do we mean by these two concepts, isolationism or neutrality? Isolationism means remaining aloof from the world. For example, US adopted the policy of isolationism after the American War of Independence in 1787 up until the First World War. US was geographically cut away from rest of the world and it did not get involved with any nation or entered into any alliance or agreement or commitment with countries, in fact all over the world. It worked towards its own development and maintained order by avoiding any foreign entanglement. Similarly, neutrality means a policy of staying out of the war. You do not take any side. When a state is neutral, it does not take any side or help any side or even attempt to bring an end to the war. It means that they do not take any position or comment on the appropriateness or moral standing of the war. NAM was neither isolationism nor neutrality. The NAM countries in fact played an important role in mediating between the two rival blocs for maintaining peace and stability during the Cold War era. NAM derived its strength from its unity, that is, large number of nations coming together. And despite the attempts of two powers to bring countries into their fold, NAM countries somehow managed to remain firm on their stand. And they also worked together to prevent wars and attempted to bring an end to the war wherever it was being carried on. It is important to note that NAM or non-aligned countries had another significant dimension, which is the economic dimension. These countries must not be considered as mediators in war only. As most of these countries were newly independent countries, a majority of them were classified as least developed countries, LDCs. Thus, one of the important challenge for most of these non-aligned countries was to foster economic development and remove the poverty within their nation, as they were exploited for a long time by the colonizers. What and how did these countries work to achieve this goal? We'll discuss these issues in the next part of the chapter. To conclude, let's summarize what we discussed in this episode. In this episode, we discussed about NAM, Non-Aligned Movement, from Bandung to Belgrade. How NAM countries played an active role during the Cold War era to neutralize tensions between the two rival blocs. They were neither neutral nor isolationist, but they were active agents for peace and stability, without being part of either of the two power blocs. In the next and last part of this chapter, we will discuss about NAM and the emergence of NIEO, New International Economic Order. And we will also study briefly the role of India in the non-aligned movement. Till then, you can enjoy reading this part of the chapter. Thank you.